Yeah.
Like I say, they repeat
Right.
themselves most of the time, and they don't say, they did, there was about one paragraph that was good if they would follow it, but
Well, welcome.
I doubt if they will.
You're expecting an
And
awful lot.
welcome to. And Bob, welcome.
Thank you.
You doing okay?
Doing great.
Good. All right, it's 4 o'clock. We will have a call to order. And we'd like to welcome Corey McCarthy from Channel 32 and Mr. Larry Peterson from for the Temple Star. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for reporting on our proceedings. Marian, maybe if you would like to come to the podium and introduce our new employee, we would
Sure.
be glad to have that. Thank you.
We'll kind of come in behind here, I guess.
That's all right.
This is Graham or Tan, for Tan, right?
Yes.
That's how we say it. And he is our new communications clerk. So he's here this evening. It's his second day of work, and we've already got him running to training and this and that and the other. So he will be the person that will focus on better communication to the public, as well as communication for council. So he will be here in attendance at the council meetings and the CCW meetings, so that he's sort of aware of more of the background information as he's putting media releases out. So we welcome him. We're excited. He came to us out of the University of Lethbridge. He's young and vibrant and excited to get going, so we're happy to have him.
So what are you saying about us,
Well,
Mary?
welcome, and it'll be a pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Okay, we will now ask Councillor Dahl to do us the honor. Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for many blessings. We're thankful for the opportunity of living in this free country where we may worship as we will, and that we've had the freedom of democracy that we have. We pray that thy Spirit may be with us, that we may make wise decisions for our community and for our citizens. We're thankful for all, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, is there any additions to the agenda that we should be made aware of? None? All right,
Just a question on
go
that.
ahead.
Were we not going to discuss anything on the golf course this week? Not ready
No,
for it?
it will be for council meeting.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so seeing none, we need a motion to adopt the agenda. Okay, Councillor Edmonds? Any discussion, question? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, adopted. Approval of the minutes of February 5th, 2013. It was quite a bit of business that we took care of. And we need first of all to have a motion, and then we will discuss.
I'll move accept the minutes, but I have a question as well.
Okay, fine. So the motion is moved by Councillor Dahl. So questions or discussions? I have a point.
On the follow-up of the hill slippage, when do we do that? Once a year?
That's out of order. We can do it
Yeah.
later. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can do it later.
we can ask that.
Call the question.
That's for Mr. Severin's comments.
Yeah, good, sure.
Okay, maybe we could take care of that at a council meeting when we have all the information coming back. Councillor Dahl, would that be okay?
That'd be fine.
Thank
I
you.
think it's, just to answer the question, if I might, Madam Chairman.
Sure.
I think the intent is to do an annual review, if that was as simple as that.
Yes, that's what we had intended last time. Now, there is a little problem with a word. If you look at the page 3 of 4 on the AUMA report, there is a little bit of a word that needs to be changed. The committee discussed a tax-based parity between town and county. I think what it meant, it was inequity. It's a matter of taxes not being fairly distributed between county and town. So the word should be inequity, not parity.
The word should probably be, Madam Chair, P-A-R-I-T-Y.
Yes, parity is the word, not parity.
Yeah, it should. I mean, that would be my guess. If that's
Yes,
what.
it's my guess too.
That's what was heard by transcribing. It would probably be P-A-R-I-T-Y.
So do you want the word parity and accept the motion with the word parity? Is that what you would like? Parity is fine, inequity is fine.
I like iniquity.
Iniquity. All right, so
Inequity.
that's iniquity. Councillor Dahl, are you accepting the motion with
Yes.
this amendment? Okay. Any other discussions? No, seeing none. All in favor? Minutes are adopted. Thank you. We now have delegations. Delegation at 4 o'clock from Mr. Leonard Nichols, our electrical foreman. Leonard, if you like to come and give us your 2 bets worth of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Madam Chairperson. I was just asked to give an overview of what our projects are for this year in the electrical department, and a few other items that have come up. We'll start with our projects this year for a capital upgrade, for our 25 kV upgrade. This was spurred on mostly by the elementary school. They are going through a major refit right now, and with the changes that they need to make, it was felt at this time that we should at least get the elementary school changed over to 25 kV. Let's do it once. We have the opportunity, so let's do that. So in doing that, that encompasses not just the school, but also the area around it. So the areas we're looking at is from 7th Avenue West to 3rd Avenue West, 7th Street to the West Bypass. Those are the areas that will be converted this year within this upgrade. We have had the luck of the weather for the first part of the year with us to be able to do work along the bypass, down 7th Avenue, currently right now to 7th Street, mostly in the line of just setting poles, things of that nature. The bypass, there's no way we would have been able to get in there in the summertime, especially down by the lake bottom there. It's always just all water. So I was fortunate this year to be able to do that. With the upgrades, we are replacing all transformers, replacing all the wire, underground wire that's in the ground. This is required. It's just the way the electricity works between the 4 kV and the 25. We just can't use the same wire, the primary wire in the ground. There has been other utilities that have experienced this, tried it, and it's just a common thing now. You just change it out. The wire might last a week, 4 months, a year, who knows? And it just eventually lets go. So this is all being done. So through Mountain Park Estates, things of that nature, we have to replace all that primary cable through there. In doing this, we've made a decision to go with for the street lighting, changing street lighting to LED street lights. We have had 4 up along 7th Street for the last year, and comments back from the citizens as well as administration. We've heard that they're very well lit. It's a lot clearer to see, especially through the fog, things of that nature. And so that's what we've planned for within our capital upgrade, to replace the streetlights in this area as well. Due to the cost of them, we've only been able to obviously afford so much, so it will be an ongoing thing throughout the years. We'll be changing as we can. There has been an issue in the last, that we've come across in the last 2-3 weeks in regards to our meters and our commercials. We had a gentleman come down, a retired gentleman from the city of Lethbridge. He's a meter tech, has been for 30 some odd years. His experience and knowledge is a great asset, and we've been able to contract him just to come look, evaluate our installations, inspect them, and in doing so we have come across some concerns. And with these concerns, we're looking at changing out the meters, changing out the wiring that wasn't up to standard, and the installations themselves that go along with that. And so this, the funding from this we're looking at, it wasn't budgeted for, but we're looking at taking from the PCB budget that we had allocated and using a portion of those funds to cover this cost. We feel that in review of these and looking at some of the installations. Because these are commercial heavy users, I'm looking at the hospital, schools, things of that nature, that there are revenue dollars that aren't being recorded. And so we have lost revenue going out the door, of which people are using the power, but we're not getting, it's not seeing it. And so all these meters will now be electronic meters, things of that nature, will be able to pick up all this extra revenue. Yes, and these will all be done up to the current standards as per Measurement Canada, and they're the authority over all this revenue metering. And we have scheduled for them to come down to pay us a visit, and I felt that it was much better to have them down invited versus having them show up at our door. And because basically they can just pick and choose, and I want to see so many sites, and then they'll either approve it or fail it. Simple as that. And then who knows what happens after that fact. So, in a nutshell, that's what our department is working on. It's going to be a busy summer. It's going to be, there will be a lot of activity. There will be outages, planned outages that will be affecting the residents. But obviously notice, like everything else, will be given prior to and what areas, etc., in order to accommodate these upgrades and things that we will be doing.
Thank you. Marian?
Madam Chairman, I'd just like to add to Leonard's presentation. One of the things that spurred this investigation of the commercial meters is we have a report that goes monthly to ISO, which is the energy regulator, with our unaccounted for energy, it's called, UFI is what we call it. And in August of 2012, we had an odd spike. Other than that, we've stayed fairly consistent, but ISO is asking us to...
It was March.
Was it March?
It was March last year. First part of March last year.
Okay, sorry, I was thinking it was August. Apologize, it was March. They're asking us to identify what caused that spike. And we've looked through everything other than those large commercial meters. And so that was sort of our next step. That's what started this process. Now we've identified a problem. We feel that Measurement Canada will be more than happy to know that we're working to correct the problem. And it's not going to be an issue for us when they come down as far as compliance goes. Because we do have a program in place to correct it. The other point I want to make is Leonard touched on the fact that we thought we could take some of the funding from the PCB compliance that we had budgeted. We believe that we can do this commercial change out over a 2-year period, total cost of about $40,000 to $45,000. If we take a portion of the PCB funding, it's not going to impact the budget. The second part of that is, with this changeover in the new lines, the new 25 kV lines that they're building, a lot of transformers will be replaced in that process, which will help us to still meet our goal of the PCP compliance when we anticipate the regulations will change in 2025. So, okay?
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I just have a question for Mr.
Please.
Nichols.
Go ahead.
In February of last year, as you recall, February of 2012, Council received an offer from Fortis to purchase our distribution system. Now, at that point, we entered into an extensive internal consultation where we analyzed the pros and cons of that offer. We also had multiple open houses, formal presentations, as you're well aware, and it took us into September, October of last year. We finally made a decision. Now, during that time frame, your crew was kind of, in a sense, handcuffed in the sense that there was no use to purchase a lot of new inventory. So my question really is this. During that process where we didn't take our sweet time, but we wanted to make sure that we analyzed and communicated with the public, and we were transparent and open, and I think we did a very good job of that. My question is, did that leave you and your department at any disadvantages? Did it leave you with an inordinate workload that you had to get through? Is it going to create additional work for you in 2013. Just what are your thoughts on that?
The projects that were slated for 2012 obviously didn't get done, and I just mostly look at it as it was a year lost for conversion, to be able to do any of the work in town. It was slow, we were directed, obviously, in my thoughts, if this pending sale would go through, why spend the taxpayers' money to do the work that really won't affect the bottom line of the sale anyway. So I'd look at it mostly as a year lost of any work that could have been done within the town.
And my intent, Madam Chair, is not to be critical. I think for good reason. We took our time. We were very open and transparent, as I've stated, but I was curious to know what that kind of did to our electrical department.
Yeah, a big part of it, the first of the year, because of lag time for material, things of that nature, material was ordered prior to knowledge of our department knowing of what was going on. So unfortunately, we still had some costs incurred, and we know that there was an excess amount of inventory that wasn't actually used throughout the year because of that. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor, please.
I have a kind of a two-part question for Leonard. With the upgrade that you're doing now, the section that you've identified, I'm just wondering what the time frame you expect to complete that, and when that is completed, what percentage of the total upgrade will have been done at that point?
Time frame for completion is a little difficult to say it right now. Between crews and whatever else comes our way. Ideally, it would be great to have it done mid-year, to develop with the elementary school to be on their schedule, but I can't commit to a date on that one.
Just, ballpark?
Ballpark. We are ahead of schedule, I'll put it that way, because of everything we've been able to do this winter. But latest, I'd say September, October. Safely, I would say. Ideally, I would like to have it done prior to that.
Okay.
So I can move on to other things as well.
Yeah, and then how much of the total upgrade will have been done at that point?
In doing that, I'd say for the town, we'd be pushing about the 40-45% mark within the town.
I mean, from my point of view, 5 years ago, people used to tell me, oh, you will see there will be shortage, there will be times you won't have any electricity. It's my 5th year here. I have yet to experience more than 45 minutes, or maybe at the most 1 hour, within that whole period of 5 years, and I'm thinking the system is working remarkably well from what I can see, thanks to you and your crews. Thank you.
We're working hard at it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your report.
Thanks, Larry.
Carl, would you like to come and enlighten us regarding the water reports that are in our packet?
Yeah, on February 28th, that was February 28th that, I think it was before then, Angela Brown, the Alberta Environment Inspector, came down for the annual inspection report for 2012 year. And in her report, she addresses a few concerns that was brought up. And I'll just go over those concerns and give you a report of how we've amended them and fix those concerns she had. First of all, was in our inventory, we had some chlorine reagents that we used for testing chlorine. There were some of them that were out of date, they were expired. So simply those were thrown away and replaced. And to remedy that, we're only purchasing so much, a 6-month supply at a time, so that we don't get an inventory of expired reagents that hang around the plant for over an extended period. She mentioned our operations program. Unfortunately, I wasn't here when she came. She likes to do surprise visits, so we don't know when she's coming, so I wasn't here. The operations manual has been developed and actually was on my computer, and it wasn't totally printed out in a book in the water plant. And that since has been printed out, and we've done up about 2 or 3 copies, and we have a copy of that in the plant. That includes standard operating procedures, emergency operation plan, and the general waterworks system in operation. Just so if somebody was to come in case there was no operators in the town, they can grab that book and look over it and see how to run the plant. She brought up a question again. I wasn't there, so I couldn't answer this question, but Dahl and Curtis weren't sure of it. She asked if the floor drain and the fluoride room drained to the ditch. Of course, when the plant was built, it was built to code, and that doesn't drain to the ditch. And so I sent her some diagrams showing her the fact that it does drain to the backwash ponds. And it is actually listed as an acid drain, and so it wasn't a concern for us, but it answered her question. There was one point, there was a fluoride dosage, overdosage recorded on October 5th. And the dosage amount for fluoride is 6 milligrams per liter. And on that day, we were at 6.66 milligrams per liter. And as we went back on our records, we found that during that day, Curtis went up, he measured, took a reading on the flow meter, and in his notes on the water plant, he has notes in there stating that the furnaces at the water plant needed to be looked at. And so he thinks that when he got there and found that the furnaces weren't running inside the plant, he went and fixed those furnaces right then. And so by the time he got to the fluoride pump and measured the weight on the fluoride scale, it had actually gone more than what it actually should have been when he read the meter. Because the meter is located at pump house 2, and then the fluoride scale is located in the water plant. And if you don't go from there right up to the fluoride scale, then you're off quite a bit from what water's flowing through and how much fluoride is coming out. So in that scenario, we're confident that's actually what happened. It wasn't a mechanical failure, and it actually wasn't an overdosage of fluoride. It was just that the reading at the time, at the right time, wasn't taken. And so we recognize that as a thing that it needs to take a reading right away so that we get an accurate dosage amount on our records. So that was actually called in as a contravention, and a report was sent into Alberta Environment for that, in that fact. And I believe I CC'd you on that report. Other issues that she was concerned about is the recording of the data, especially the turbidity effluent from the filters. And our new skate upgrade will take care of this, and we've mentioned to her how we need to. Our skater right now is not altogether accurate because it's recording sporadic moments when the filter is offline and not measuring or not filtering to the treated reservoirs. Because whenever the filters go above 3 NTU, well, they're taken right offline and they don't filter. But in some events, the SCADA has been sending reports over to the Excel spreadsheet, and that's something that we need to address once we upgrade the SCADA program. We can address these concerns that she has there. And finally, of course, our UV treatment project will be coming along this year, hopefully, upon grant approval, and she understands that, and we will keep in close contact with Alberta Environment. I'm hoping that by June we'll be able to get approval drawings to Alberta Environment for them to see what we're going to be doing, and that's, we've started with proposals from Stantec and Associated Engineering to get proposals to us for the project, and we will proceed from there. And that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Well, those were just a few problems, but reflect still a very good operation. Looking at the rating that you have some fairly good rating all the way through.
Yeah.
So,
Just so you know, I really appreciate Angela. She's very thorough, and it's really good to have an inspector that looks at the place with a fine-tooth comb, because it keeps us on our toes and she keeps us in line. And that's really a good exercise for us to have someone like that that just doesn't come in and take an inspection and think it's, just doesn't do a very thorough job. She is very thorough, and I really appreciate her for that, because it keeps us on our toes.
thank you. And water is such an important commodity that we take for granted, but good water is essential to a good community. So
Yes, it
thank you for working up, making sure that that happens. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Witness? Thank you. Well, we just have Mr. and Mrs. Sheldon Deshi, and you're a little bit ahead of time, but if you'd like to come to the podium and talk to your project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just straight out on a roll, just in case. All right.
We're prepared anyway.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say good evening, the Worship Council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our, our co-initiative for the town of Cardston. Just a little bit of background before I get going with where we're at. This initiative kind of took off when the town of Cardston had invited Chief and Council to come out and meet at the Yodi's restaurant at the time. I guess this is where it kind of all started boiling up with trying to get an initiative in regards to tourism and to help, I guess, with the Mormon Trail that the young fellow over there was doing. And since then, I've been meeting with Jeff on a regular basis, and we've been really developed this initiative in regards to the cultural aspect of this tourism idea. So moving forward, just to give you a little bit of background where we're at, I think Jeff gave you guys a copy of this, I guess, a little write-up on regards to where we're at and just the points of interest and some of the issues that we're dealing with right now in regards to the initiative. And for most of you, you don't know, this is Phyllis. She's my partner in crime.
Phyllis, how are you?
Yeah, she's my partner in crime. We're best of friends, so. Anyways,
We have a colorful history is what we like to tell people, but now we're friends. So.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you have your ups and downs, you have your valleys, and you're on top of the mountains and everything, when you're partners. Mm-hmm. And then colorful history is we've kind of gone in full circle and we're best of friends, you won't believe so. But we share two beautiful kids that are running their own lives right now, so a little bit of history there. But anyways, where we're at right now is we've been constantly meeting with Jeff in regards to the initiative. And what we've come up with is an initiative like a teepee village in regards in the town of Cardston. Now, we've been looking at two areas that were possible for the teepee village itself. And we've developed a business model of the initiative itself. But we are at the point where we would, in one location or both locations, there are some fixtures that we will definitely need. One of them is power, that we we had discussed, because we are, as part of the main attraction of this initiative would be the song and dance and the history of the songs, and trying to keep in mind what the town of Cardston was doing with the Mormon Trail. And I guess this is where we haven't gotten to, at this point, where how both are going to mesh together and to go forward from there. I know at our first meeting, we had discussed that how do we get our elders together that have been around in this area for all their lives, I guess, and what they know of the history. And so we could get a true picture of the history of Cardston and the Blood Tribe, and how we became neighbors. So, but we've been working quite diligently on the teepee village, and as I mentioned, there's 2 locations we're looking at. One is the bridge just on the other side of the provincial building, and the other one is right across the, what's the campground called? Lee Creek Campground. Right across the river there, there's that big area there that's open. We kind of fancy that area a little more space to it. And some of the attractions to it, why we say that is it will give us an effect of an amphitheater style, where we would, we're hoping that the town of Cardston would allow us to build the bleachers into the hillside, where we would build our stage just on this side of the hill. Also, it gives us more of a flat area where we would provide the teepees itself. Now, we've looked at one teepee being artifacts and cultural items like that, so that they could be displayed. And the others would be, and I guess this is where I'm going to get into later on down the line, is we've been talking about certain bylaws that the town of Cardston may have in regards to having some of the teepees to be slept in by some of our tourists that come through the town of Cardston. The other thing that would, why we're looking at that area is that there is we're thinking of providing the experience of a sweat lodge. And it would be a little further back, and because we're thinking along the lines of the authentic experience of First Nations people. And it'll also give an opportunity where the town of Cardston members could come in and partake and learn a little more of our culture as well. We are neighbors, and I know for a fact that a lot of the times the cross-cultural awareness aspect is kind of left out, even though we've been neighbors for a long time. So with that, we've got a couple of things that we've got concerns of, or issues that we are dealing with, is the location at both areas to deal with security. Now we have like I said, we have a business model that we will be developing, and so the security will be taken care of by our business model and the staffing and everything else. So the town of Cardston will not be bothered by that. And but the other things that we're looking at is the issues of outhouses in regards to the camp. And now Lee Creek Campground has outhouses there, or bathrooms. But in regards to where we're fancying the area just across the river there, as elderly people, I'm getting there myself. You know, we're not all that fast to get to across the bridge and get to where we need to go and do our business. So, you know, that's one of the issues that we're looking at, as well as some of the aspects of the infrastructure in regards to electricity. Now, for the electricity, we are providing with the dance demonstration, it'll be a PA system that's set up. The stage will be built. And we will have our audience come in and we would explain all the dances. We would have a whole show to it, and we would give the history of the dances. And at the end of the performance, we would also give the opportunity of people that are within the audience to come out and take pictures with the dancers themselves. And we're providing that system. We've purchased it already, so we're going to be providing that for them as well. So that's why the electricity is needed. The other thing is that we were talking about is, now this is where we get into the bylaws. If we're providing the authentic First Nations culture experience, I know Lee Creek Campground is there, but on the other side, I think we discussed it, there was a bylaw that there's no camping in that area, so in the park itself. So that we would have to definitely discuss. Also, the other thing that we were thinking about, because we are providing beadwork demonstrations, berry soup with mint tea, samples, you know, anything from little trinkets of keychains, beaded keychains, to ammonite rocks, and just some of the history within this area. And so we've asked Jeff in regards to, because security is going to be an issue itself. We don't see our people to be taking down their tables every night, packing them up and going home, and then coming back up and setting up all over again. If we can move 2 or 3 shed-style buildings onto the site, so that they can lock them up and just sell from those buildings. The other one is for the sweat lodge. We definitely need, if we're going to be providing the sweat lodge experience, we're going to definitely need a fire pit. Now, that's, again, the bylaws that the town of Cardston will have to deal with as well. If that's not available, then I guess we'll have to leave the sweat lodge out. So we're working around those areas. The other thing too is that we would like to discuss is the agreements with the land usage. What are we going to do with what kind of agreements are we going to go into with regards to land use? I was in Pincher Creek about 2 weeks ago for a tourism workshop, and when they heard about what we were doing here, I mean, they were saying there's nothing like that south of Calgary. They used to have one in Brockett, but that has folded. But within the town limit itself, there's nothing like it anywhere in Alberta. So the uniqueness of the heritage building itself, the carriage house, and the cultural center or the cultural camp on the other side is a natural fit. And so right away, the town of Waterton, the town of, or the campground of Riding on Stone, and the Buffalo Jump came and started talking to us and seeing how we can work with them. And I told them, well, right now, we're only, it's a conception until we present to town councils, so, you know, until we know where we're going with this and what's allowed. So Waterton said, well, you guys need to come out anyways. You guys need to come and do at least one show a week at the town of Waterton. And I didn't say this to the lady, but that's more towards coming this way, because that's natural advertising for us, for the town of Cardston, so all those tourists would be coming this way. The other thing too is the young fellow, I forget his name, is from Riding on Stone. He wants to cross-promote the area, so we've got a lot more coming on that end of it. And Buffalo Jump, same thing. I was talking to Mr. Crowshoe, Quentin, and he's willing to do the same thing. So the attraction around it is the possibilities. It's I mean, it's enormous for the town of Cardston, for both of us, in regards to business and you know, getting everything off the ground. So these are some of the issues that we've been talking about. And the programming itself, we've pretty much done the agenda. We just need to come back and talk to Jeff about it. And we've decided to go with the 2-month this year. Because it's a brand new thing, we want to do it right. Not just come in and do you know, get so big and do it all summer and burn out halfway through the summer and all of that kind of stuff. So we're targeting July and August to do the TP Village. And we've been, I guess through Jeff, what's his name from the carriage house?
Howard?
Oh, Howard has wants to also work with us in the planning stages as well. So it's a collaborative approach. Mayor?
Madam Chair.
Sure, go ahead.
Sheldon, and thank you for coming. This is, Phyllis, this is an idea that has tremendous merit. There is no question. Others have talked about this. How can we do this? How can we make it happen? You know, so if this is exciting for us, at least for me, that you're here speaking to us. You've done a lot of legwork with Jeff. A couple of questions come to mind. In your business model, have you come up with some good ideas in terms of budget? Secondly, is it a fair statement that there really should be some grant dollars available because of the intercultural cooperation? I'm sure you've gone down that road in discussions. And also, it sounds like it's the kind of situation where you're going to need sort of one person to be over the project, and then any number of those that'll be there. So have you got that business model to where you've got a number, and will there be, do you think there'll be a grant opportunity that will cover the funding? And obviously, if you want to be able to be up and running, say, end of June, 1st of July this year, then of course this is going to take a ton of work. And so where sort of does the money come from to facilitate the folks that are going to have to get it off the ground like tomorrow kind of thing? So a lot of questions there for you.
Oh, yeah, and we've definitely thought about
Round
that.
and around.
Yeah, we've discussed it, and we've got actually several business models that we're looking at. As for grant dollars, we've gone down that road as well, and we're going to be tapping into some of that. As for the startup costs and everything, it'll come directly from our pockets. In regards to the TPs, furnishing the TPs with the poles and everything, those will all come out of our own pocket. We've also discussed the 3 little sheds that I had mentioned. Those we will purchase ourselves as well. Our business model concept is one of a collaborative approach where we've included Arnold mountain horse, who is my spiritual leader anyways, and I do sing in some of his ceremonies. So we've included him in because I do own the rights to a sweat lodge, but it's different than his. Mine is it's a lot smaller, and women don't go into my sweat. It's just totally separate. But for him, it's open, and he's a little more versed in regards to how he does his ceremonies. So we've included him in, and along with his wife and family. So we've taken care of some of the issues in regards to staffing and doing some of the demonstrations. And the other part of it is through our families that we are going to be. So startup costs shouldn't really bother or fall on town of Cardston. It's just the fact. Oh, one thing I forgot is there's a pipe that's going through there as well too, right?
Yeah, this summer is a little tricky because you're putting that new sewer line in.
Yeah. So
We can look at where that exactly would go if we go that far, but.
yeah, maybe we'll have to have a little boat going.
So Sheldon, I'm guessing that at this point, you would be asking council for support sort of in principle to the concept.
Yes.
And to give administration, if we decide to go that route, pretty much the green light to work towards all amenable agreements and bring the required requests back to us for land use, for zoning, for utilities, obviously the restrooms and so forth, sleeping, fire. There's several of them here. It's locking of the vending booths overnight, the sweat lodge, and those kinds of things. Okay.
Yeah.
And the conversation we had on the way out was, you, and particularly Jeff, has been amazing to work with. We just have to put that on record. You may have ideas of where there's funding for cultural awareness projects like this that we're not aware of, and we would like to explore those as well.
Okay. And the other question, and you alluded to this fact where you've said that you will bear some of the startup costs. I personally, speaking for myself, do not have a problem if there's private money and if there's revenue to be generated. That's not a problem. There'd be a business license for that to happen and some of those things. So, okay.
Yeah, I think we've talked a little bit about that, and I guess this is the purpose of the presentation this evening, so that we can, make you aware of what we're doing and where we're at right now. So.
Okay, Councillor Cole.
I'm hugely intrigued by this project. I want to apologize to Phyllis for not. Her and I have known each other for quite a few years, so
One or two, Tim.
I was just not expecting to walk through that door. That's all.
Keep the numbers down here.
Okay, just a few years. Again, the same concerns as location. Those things I think can be worked out. I think this is a project that really is beneficial to the town and to the First Nations people and to you. I'm sure I can see something go ahead with it. So.
I personally was very interested with that project at the onset. I met with you and Jeff and was very intrigued about what you could bring to the town and what we could maybe bring also in working together. But I really think we need to tackle those issues in order to be able to make that model work. That is what's important. There's a foundation we need to work on pretty soon to be able to iron those things out.
Yes, yeah.
Councillor Chris?
Yes, and I think it is a very good project. I've read through it, and I'm a little intrigued, with the possible locations for it. It is, well, it's right in my backyard, and I'm not, and I don't have a problem with that. I think it would be great, but I know on the west side of the creek, it's pretty much limited to pedestrian traffic there, and that might be okay too. I just had thought about, and I don't know if you've looked at other areas, or Jeff has looked at other areas. I mean, we have either side of the reunion center that are some open areas, and I don't know what they're designated for, south of the Lee Creek campground, or south of the Reunion Center. Those are some open areas, and they might lend themselves very well to this type of an activity. But anyway, I hope you're, open to, with a little flexibility, and maybe we can, I hope we can really, make this work for our community and for you and for everyone.
Madam Chair, and just another comment for Sean and Phyllis. Yeah, I sense a lot of enthusiasm here in council, so I do applaud your initiative here. I really, really do. And so, and as you and I have, become acquainted the last 5-6 years, clearly you're an individual that follows through on things. Two small, tiny things. Pedestrian access has been mentioned. So parking obviously is something to be addressed. The other thing is, we have to be a little careful because of the proximity to camping, that there be virtually no noise after 10:30 at night, because sort of the written law in camping is quiet time starts at 11 or in some cases 10 o'clock, or maybe just at dark. So just a couple little small things. So
I guess this is where we will fall in
With the
to the
bylaws.
guidelines of your bylaws. We just need to understand what they are, and so that we can address those accordingly. So, and I don't think we'll have a problem with that, because on our agenda, the dance demonstration is going to start happening just after supper time anyways. So it's not going to take 4 hours or whatever it is. So it's, quiet time will happen right after that. The only thing that...
Did we put that in there?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I was going to address that. But one of the things that I had mentioned to Jeff as well is like a common place for the people that are supposedly, or if they're allowed to sleep in the teepees, a common area where they could kind of sit around a campfire, drink coffee or mint tea or whatever it may be, and we would provide somebody from the community to come in and share the history of the area, or some legends of our culture, with the tourists, and so just to wrap up the evening. So, it's not going to be a loud thing, but it's just a wind down for the day's activities. The other thing that we've also discussed is just doing it for certain times of the week. We're not going to be going 7 days full out and everything. We were thinking of, within the town of Cardston, doing it the Thursday to a Sunday type of activity. So the Monday to Wednesday will be, pretty much just a self-guided tour. The people will be there that our staff will be there to provide those tours. So we were thinking of, if we're going to be doing that, we definitely need to work with, what's his name again?
Howard?
Howard.
On his-
I was forgetting his name. And my uncle, his name is Howard. But anyways, so we've addressed that. And the other thing that we included in our agenda was the fact that I know Town of Cardston has been partnering up with the community of Blood Tribe in regards to a powwow. Now, we were looking at, I know it was July and August we're targeting for operations. And we were talking about this coming in. We would be ignorant to the fact that long weekend, September, you're still going to have tourists, right? So we're looking at the fact, okay, when did Cardston have their powwow?
In August.
If we had teamed up with you in regards to the powwow itself, where we make it a little more of an event itself, So it'll be part of the powwow trail itself, where you would attract literally hundreds of First Nations people from all over North America to come down here. We even have people from Germany that take the summer off and they come over here and they partake in our powwow trail as well. And they're Germans through and through, but they're dancers and I think a couple of them are singers. So they take that opportunity and they take their families with them. So, you know, that was something that we haven't discussed yet, but we've included in the whole agenda as well. So.
Okay, good.
Councillor Edmonds?
So how many people are you looking to accommodate? Like I noticed in your write-up there, you were saying that you would have a language training. How many people are we looking at at the time?
Well, it's basically, the language training is basically the basic hello, how are you? Those, you know, those, yeah, just so that our tourists can, you know, speak a little bit of Blackfoot. In regards to the sleeping areas, the teepees and stuff like that, I guess we still have to look at your bylaws if we're going to be given that privilege to have those teepees as sleeping quarters for our tourists and whatnot. I guess this is where we have to discuss and iron out. So, you know, we could provide 4 teepees for you know, families or whatever to sleep in those teepees, and they'd be furnished, but they're not going to be furnished like they're
I like the hotel.
yeah, you know, authentic is right there. You go.
There you go.
Yes, Cal?
Question, like in the Blackfoot language, the size of that group for the conversational Blackfoot really, I mean, it really doesn't matter as long as there's room there for them to all stand and practice saying the words.
I think it's going to be a part of the whole dance demonstrations, because I did this on a theater approach with the dance demonstrations a number of years ago with my family. And we went into Fort Macleod Theater, Lethbridge University. We went to several areas of southern Alberta, and our announcer would you know, interact with the crowd, with the audience, and he would show them how to say a few words. And I mean, it'll be part of the whole you know, experience itself. So it's not going to be a whole classroom setting type of thing. It's just going to be you know, very off the cuff type of thing. Yeah. So
They'll know as much Blackfoot as I do.
One thing I could comment, because of the proximity to the campground, and that campground is one of the best campgrounds within 300-400 miles. It has a terrific reputation. It's well operated. You know, you would get, every night that you're running a presentation, you would get a lot of those people. There's no question you get a lot of those people. So that's a sort of a plus right there in terms of your location. It could also be marketed through the Carriage House Theater on Main Street, so those folks know, hey, I'm here to the theater tonight. I'm going to stay another night and attend this TP Village presentation, or I'll come early. So it has the potential to be part of a 3, 4, 5 day experience. Then, of course, in the daytime, we'll send them up to the golf course and do a few things. You know, stay here, but maybe take a day and go up to Waterton. There's a ton of tourism marketing that can be potentially done here. And that also touches in then to, Madam Chair, the terrific job that our people here, I think mostly with Jeff and working, the social media has been where we've marketed a lot. And so there's some great potential there. There's some great potential, and I think we're all pretty excited.
Phyllis, do you want to add something?
We didn't include this in the write-up, or maybe we did, I've forgotten. There have been so many variations of it. When we met with you and Jeff, anyway, and Alexis, one of the conversations we also had was the possibility to have 1 or 2 vans leaving from the parking lot of the information booth and taking people to historic sites on the reserve. Well, I just spent a weekend talking to the person who should be in charge of that, and I said, you'd be silly not to do this. You don't have to have them officially designated, just get people out there and like you say, day trips to these kinds of things to go and take a look at. They are available on the Blood Reserve, and there's a natural curiosity that people have toward that sort of thing. So I think that idea has been rekindled. Jeff, we talked about leaving it in our, I wasn't in your last meeting, but the one I think prior to that. I think we want to do it again, but on a lesser scale, instead of, making them all big and fancy signs, just taking, I suggested to them what's most important is the person who's the interpreter, who goes with the van and says to them, this is what happened here, and we back and forth, do we make a brochure, do we make a little calendar, do we make it, is it all on our website, what do we do so that people can get this information? People really want to learn. And so that's has gone off the table and come back on. But when you talk day trips, that's one of the things that we talked about as well.
But Phyllis, that's probably part of your business model that you want to kind of tweak a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
And then you need to carry on
Totally.
with
And
Jeff.
this is the first time that we're coming back on the table as well.
So essentially what we have, I think there is a fair amount of consensus around this table. So maybe what we should do at this point is leave it in the capable hand of administration to carry on working with you, kind of finalize or refine the model for us to know what we will be participating in, what you truly will be participating in, and then see if we can agree on the final model. I think that's probably where we're at this point, if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's I think we're at that point where we're just waiting for the blessing of council and mayor. And
well, I think there is excitement, and I enjoyed the idea, but I also realized that there is a lot of fine tuning that need to happen before.
We're miles away yet to be complete. So,
Madam Chair, if I could, Sheldon, I noted that you indicated that this is one of a few ideas that sort of sprang from the luncheon that the two councils had down at Athens Restaurant.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw this out there again to administration. If we can try to get with the new council, because it really does seem that nothing but good comes out of that interaction between us here in the council and Chief Weaselhead and his newly elected council. I mean, newly elected has been 4 months ago, but it took us a while to make that happen, but that's something that I'd like to see us move forward on as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've got another initiative that's kind of spawned from this economic, and I did mention that right from the get-go at the meeting at Yodi's, is the fact that it's always good to work on the economic factor of our communities, but at the same time, there's a offsetting balance of our social issues as well. So we've begun down the road of tackling some of those issues, especially with the village of Moses Lake. So and I've been working on a contract basis, consulting basis with Alberta Health Services. And we're bringing in a whole new initiative that's going to be funded by Alberta, that's going to be dealing with a lot of the community, family and domestic violence and substance and all of that, those transgressions that our community has. So we're on the verge of doing that. We've really taken the lead role to really making this happen. I count my blessings on that. Getting back into council, because I've gotten myself into a situation where I'm really a part of my community again. Not only that, but being a part of this community as well. And having people around the table such as yourselves, Jeff and Marian and Alexis. I mean, we're just the networking is happening and the friendships that are being developed. It's something I wouldn't have been able to do, being in council, because my experience in the 4 years of being in council was I was on the go 24/7, 365. And I didn't notice until I got out of office that I found I was very tired. I took some time to recoup, but since then I've really taken the initiative to deal with some of the things that we had talked about at Yodi. So we've included the town of Cardston in those two initiatives. And as we go forward, I think it's going to, the outline is going to come out, and it's just, it's going to be a community approach for everything. So it's going to be good for both of us. And as for the TP Village, it could be a mainstay of Cardston. And it's going to, the spin-off businesses that town of Cardston is going to, it's all positive. And I'm just excited to get it going. And that's the bottom line. So, but I thank you for allowing us to come in and present. And tomorrow I'll be at your Dairy Queen and have a burger.
Well, Sheldon and Phyllis, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, and hope to work with you again.
Do you have this on your file? I haven't seen it since I don't know.
Well, it's my tradition to go around and shake hands and
Thank you.
You bet.
No, I
have you.
Nice to see you again.
There's
You bet.
RCAF on it, and it says support, and I think it's a whole bunch of pictures and video clips that not downloaded.
You bet. Thank you.
I don't recognize them, so.
the west side.
Yeah, I give it, I'm a historian, so.
Yard, so
Yes.
anyway, I think there's.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you a free pass every night you come in.
And you can just come on up
Thank you very
to
much.
our
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sheldon, you don't
Yeah.
come.
Thank you very
Right on.
much. Yeah.
This is what.
We need to have another luncheon.
Yeah, we need to carry on.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably now we need like emails going back and forth to find where it's Take care.
All right, Council, I think,
I do have a couple of pertinent comments that I'd like to just make quickly before we maybe leave this, if that's okay. Councillor Creed addressed maybe location that they're hoping for might not be the best. And I'm even thinking that maybe what we would do is look and see if down where the reunion center is and the campground here, there's a triangle of land, maybe that's the best place. And I know that they kind of want it to be, against the hill. We don't know lots of the land against that hill, do we?
No, we have a parcel large enough, I think, to accommodate it there, but that's one of the concerns that we had and was in your background or as administration is the logistics and the cost of putting that in that location. We've looked at a couple of alternatives, like the old Reunion Center site, the old Tourist Information Center site, which has parking and stuff there available. But yes,
On the
we're
other
just
side.
looking on the map here, that piece between the Reunion Center and the campground, or perhaps south of the Reunion Center. So if council's comfortable, we'll look at those alternative locations.
I think administration
The
could
further,
have
the
that.
further off the beaten path, the more problems you got of people finding it or whatever, the parking and access.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no vehicle traffic across there either.
There just isn't.
If you went down south of the Reunion Center, you got 9th Avenue there,
That's right.
and there's quite a bank going up to 9th Avenue. Would that be, how much do we own, next to the highway? I'm just thinking, like, we're talking about an amphitheater on the hill. And there is a bit of a hill
Yeah,
there.
there's probably about a 15-foot right-of-way.
I was just wondering if there's enough of a rise there that we
Between the base of
could.
the road and the,
I think it suffices to say, Madam Chair, we don't want the location to be working against us from the get-go.
Mhm.
No.
That's my thinking.
I really believe that Jeff is quite aware of the
No,
problem.
yeah, for sure, for
And I
sure.
really think the backgrounder kind of spelled it out quite well, so that's maybe what administration kind of worked with the Sheldon and Phyllis a little bit more and be able to come up, maybe if that's not the ideal location, maybe on the Yoti side where there was the old tourist hut. On that, maybe might have to be there across from the courthouse. There's also parking there.
You know, 3 years ago, I was up rambling in front of the electorate during the election. I made comment, I do ramble. I made comment that we're not going to attract the big industry, the big factories. This is what we got to focus on. I
Yeah.
am hugely excited on this. I think
Yeah.
we really need to make this work. Somehow we've got to make this work. This is what's going to draw the people here. We're not going to put in a packing plant or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be what we've got. We've got beautiful scenery. We've got First Nations culture.
Yeah.
We've got to make this work.
I've been
Yeah.
talking about heritage.
Okay.
I mean, 10%.
So are we satisfied to let administration carry on?
Absolutely.
That's fine,
Yes.
so I see a nod, thank you. Okay, so let's carry on with the 6, business arising. You have some backgrounders, and there is 2 items to consider. The AUMA zone meeting and the MGA review. Marian, do you want to debrief us on that, please?
At the Mayor's Caucus in Edmonton, there was some discussion about the MGA review that's currently being undertaken by the province. And AUMA is looking for information from all councils to put together sort of a framework and their principles of what the MGA should be, some of the changes that should be made there. Now, there's a zone meeting planned for March 26th at the Lethbridge Lodge, and they would like to invite not only mayors but councillors as well to attend that. They're looking there, I think that day the focus will be on the review of the Municipal Government Act. The question I had for council was, the MGA is a fairly large document. Obviously, you were all given a copy of it when you were originally elected, but I'm sure you haven't read it from front to back. It's a very complex issue. For us to be able to deal with it, in a committee meeting or a council meeting, I think would be too cumbersome. Are you interested, to have a separate meeting where we can discuss the MGA? Or would you be more comfortable to just simply attend the zone meeting and provide input there? Because obviously AUMA has already some principles in place that were in your package and some questions that have been asked, and then a draft of those principles. So I think they've gone quite a ways down the road already without us sort of reinventing that. So my recommendation to council would be that as many as possible to be there and participate in that zone meeting, and that perhaps is the best way to provide our input.
Can you remind us of the date and time and place?
March 26th at the Lethbridge Lodge.
10 a.m. in the morning,
Is it 10 a.m.?
10 to 3. There's a council meeting that day.
Oh, that's a Tuesday then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, the council meeting is at 5 o'clock,
Yep, yep.
so we still have time to come back. So maybe by a show of hand, how many of you would like to go to that meeting?
Right now, I think I would.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so we will do our homework and then go to the meeting. It
And if you
appears
need
that
a
that's the
copy
way.
of the Municipal Government Act, I would recommend that you can download it as well, free of charge off Queen's Printer on the
Yeah.
internet. So, okay.
Mr. Schow? Mayor Scott, sorry.
Madam Chair, I'm looking on page 2 of the MGA document, the AUMA document, and it speaks about the MGA review. Critical component in the MGA review deals with bottom left, revenue sources and authorities.
Yeah.
And I want to really make this quick because this is something that could be debated for hours and days and weeks, but I want to make this quick. Millions upon millions of dollars is sitting in county coffers, and it is not building the province. It just simply is not building the province. It results in lower taxes for county residents. They live in the counties. They typically, and this is all over the province. This is all over the province. And we love them, but they're our neighbors. They just don't share too heavily in the taxes of what they use in the community. Yes, the county is giving us about $250,000 towards our pool project, and so we welcome that. We're grateful for that. But still, in many, many counties across the province, literally millions and millions of dollars sits there. Those tax dollars come from somewhere. And in large measure, it's linear taxes coming from oil companies. And I think it's working to the detriment of the province. So one of the things that in a brief conversation I had with an AUMA vice president, alderman from Calgary gets a vice president, Edmonton gets a vice president. He spoke to me about a sales tax. Now, sales taxes at first blush are very unpopular. I think it behooves us as members of AUMA to at least encourage AUMA to come up with a model whereby property taxes could be lowered and sales taxes implemented. And that's the way it works, folks. If you can imagine the immense sales tax revenue that would be generated in the bigger centers, and they get to keep a lot of that, sales tax could be offset by a lowering in property tax. I think that model needs to be looked at. Me personally, in my business and my home, I think if my property tax could be lowered, I'd be willing to pay some sales tax. But think about it. All of a sudden, there's not near the money in the county coffers. It's going where the huge population is, namely in the urbans. And we then could potentially have more revenue to fund our infrastructure obligations. So it's a philosophy that should at least be looked at. And remember, this idea came from Jim Stevenson, one of the vice presidents on AUMA, because I don't think there's anyone else around this table. If we're going to pay a sales tax, but that model might mean that our property taxes go down. Think of the benefit. And urbans are where 90% of the people live in the province. Anyway, that's just something that I'm going to be
Forgive me if I don't
Yeah.
embrace that, Mr.
Mayor Schow, I really think that this has to be really, really fleshed out, really seriously, because I come from BC and I can tell you that taxes, sales tax, were less than popular and brought the whole government down. So that is a very, very difficult issue to deal with,
It's
and
not a
it has to be sold properly. Yes.
I think it's a matter that has to be looked at very, very carefully, because a sales tax affects every purchaser in our community, in our province, and whereas our property taxes only affects property owners.
That's right.
And I think it makes a difference of source of money, and I think it's something that has to be looked at very carefully.
That's exactly why I said it needs to be analyzed and scrutinized, and that needs to be carefully analyzed. Because there is not a fairer form of taxation than a consumption tax. There just isn't a fair form of taxation. Right now, property tax is very, very unfair. It's terribly unfair.
Councillor, please.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about taxes at the moment, but on the...
That's wise.
This is the AUMA's approach, but it does relate to our Mayor Schow has talked about, our inequities with the counties. are you aware what the AAMD&C, are they also involved in this, and are we not working together with them, or what's happening on that?
They're every bit as involved in a rewrite of the MGA as we are,
But
because it involves them every bit as much.
Well, of course it does,
us.
but are they doing it separately, or are they doing it with us?
I would suggest that usually what happens is AUMA deals with it from their policy, and AMD&C will deal with it from their policy perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they represent two very different types of municipalities,
Yeah.
and the perspective is a little bit different.
Yeah.
They work together on a lot of issues,
Mhm.
but in this case, I would suggest that that's probably happening more.
Okay.
They're aware of each other
Yeah.
and what's going on, but I wouldn't say they're working together on it.
Okay.
But you could ask
Well,
that question.
well, that may be one of my recommendations,
You-
that we work more
Yeah.
closely with them on that, so that otherwise we just continue the inequities.
I don't think there's-
You could ask that question on March 26th, because I can't really speak on
Yeah,
behalf of
well, that's
AUMA,
okay.
but-
Councillor Creed?
No.
Councillor Cole, sorry.
we're going to hear this on the street because it's on the TV. I want it clear that I do not support a sales tax. I don't want to get hammered on this, and I don't think we want the council to suggest that we are supporting a sales tax right now, so. Thank you.
Well said.
All right, Councillor Edmonds.
Do we maybe want to have a meeting to discuss this so that we can go in with a united front as to changes we'd like to see?
On the MGA you're talking.
Yes.
Well, that goes back to what Marian proposed, that we look at the points of changes and kind of study the MGA according to what the government already has prepared for us. And so if that is a desire of council, then we could do that. It's not a bad thing to come more prepared, no doubt.
Let me just comment, Madam Chair. This idea did not come from me. It came from one of the vice presidents of AUMA, a councillor, an alderman in the city of Calgary. Also, the province, the government of the province of Alberta, on at least 2 occasions or 3 occasions that we've picked up in the news, has kind of mentioned it
Sales tax.
casually, and I just, all I'm trying to do, Madam Chair, is find a way that the millions and millions of dollars that are sitting in a lot of county coffers and are not building the province, and the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers is getting hammered because they pay those linear taxes.
Mayor Schow, could we maybe go back to the question, how many of us are willing to come and be informed a little bit more regarding the MGA changes?
What kind of information are we talking about?
We're going on the 26th for that purpose, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
I think we need to meet and
Do
decide.
we need an education beforehand?
Yeah, to prep ourselves,
Mhm.
in other words. Or at least, well, I mean, if we share our own ideas, at least it'll get our minds going in the right direction rather than just kind of coming from our own corners.
Mhm.
And
So how many of you would be interested in doing so? Councillor Dahl, do you want to say something?
Well,
Can we answer the question first?
Sure,
Because
go
Marian
ahead.
needs an answer here. So how many of you would like to have a prep meeting regarding the 26th of March meeting? So it's a prep meeting.
But you're asking us to, do we want a prep meeting for a prep meeting?
Do you want a prep meeting to be able to prepare to discuss the MGA? Is that what Marian proposed?
And I think if there's 7 of us here that want that, and 6 of us here that want that, there's probably every community wants at least to have enough information given to them. I am certainly not prepared to take that Municipal Government Act and comment on in a meaningful way.
You
Marian,
can't.
do you want to?
It's too big.
Marian, do you want to kind of elaborate what you had in
I
mind?
could facilitate a session of council to discuss the Municipal Government Act in general terms and with the principles that have already been discussed
Right.
by AUMA and
Right.
things that we've seen that perhaps we need to take a look at or present to the zone meeting.
How much time are you thinking of? Couple hours, 3
Yeah, I would
hours?
think a couple hours would.
Couple hours. When would you think that could be possible? In between two council meetings? So the Tuesday before?
The only day I have available at this point is the 25th.
Okay, so the day
That's
before.
the Monday, is that?
Monday.
Yeah.
The Monday?
The
Okay.
21st or the 25th, I would be able to
Okay, the
facilitate.
25th. Okay, how many could come the 25th? Would that be what, in the afternoon? What are you thinking of?
That's up to you.
Okay, 10
Let's
to
do it
12?
let's do it in the morning on the 25th,
9 to 11, 10 to 12,
10 to 12.
10 to 12?
I have a question on this. I mean, we're adding extra expense to this already. If we're going into Lethbridge, it's another meeting, then this will be a second meeting on top of that. All of this is going to cost taxpayer dollars. I'm not sure, I kind of agree with the mayor, we're going into a meeting to learn about this. Are we going to, is there any way of putting out some kind of a printout for us to read instead of having a meeting?
Most of the information is already in the package.
Yeah.
In here.
Yeah, so if you need me to get it enlarged, so it's easier to read, might help.
Okay,
But really, the basis of it is already in
Right.
the package.
so essentially, we need to do our homework, study what is given to us, and go
And go
prepared
to the
to
meeting.
That's what I would think.
participate on March 26th. That's the consensus?
Excellent.
Taxpayers will thank us for
Okay,
that.
thank you.
I have one comment about our taxes and our sales tax. As I read the financial magazines, the financial papers, and I'm going to use my words, the whole world is in a financial dilemma. We don't have enough money to operate like we've been operating. And so we talk about cutting taxes, we talk about cutting spending. In the US, they've just cut $80 billion out of their budget. And nothing but positive has been happened in the stock market since that passed the House.
Nothing positive?
It's all been positive.
Okay,
It's all been positive. And I think what we've got to look at in our governments, and at whatever level of government, where can we go to save a dime? Where can we, in our budget, where can we save a dime? Because our people are taxed heavily everywhere we go. And so I think we've got to look at things, what can be done to reduce spending, because the moment if you raise taxes 5%, nobody squawks more than 30 minutes. If you cut spending 5%, they'll squawk for a year. And I think that's the thing that we've got to cover in our government is what do we do to help people realize we're trying to do the best we can with what we've got.
thank you. Should we go on item 9, correspondence? Federal gas tax funds. We have some more money coming.
Are you going to do 7-2?
Oh, sorry. 7.2 is the Alberta Social Policy Framework. It is it's a document that is there for your information that is very important for FCSF. They need to now look at their programs and deal with their grant application within the framework that is given to them in that policy. And that will make them successful or not successful. So it's a very important document, framework, reference
I have
for
a
them.
comment on it.
Go ahead.
In our society, we will always have those who have and those who have not, for whatever reason. And I think that as I read this particular thing, it looked to me like they want to put everybody on the same plane. And that's an impossibility.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is create some kind of fairness system so that when FCSS has programs that they want to develop, they allow to help those who are probably the most needy in our society.
As I looked at that
essentially
thing,
the
it was
idea.
basically a socialism document.
Well, call it whatever you want, it's a framework they have to work with. Okay. Any other comments?
It's a typical government document.
Thank you.
That says it all.
Okay, and you
I think
represent FCSS, so thank you for
I think the
Your
whole thing
comment.
could be condensed into about 5 or 6 pages.
essentially the page where there's a list of the value to be followed is about a half a page that is worth following. The rest is very wordy. Okay, correspondence, federal gas tax fund. We have, as you know, some money that is coming every year regarding that fund. We have another $166,000 plus coming, and the government has extended the deadline for expenditure from March 31st, 2014 to December 31st, 2014. And in our background, you will see that Marian indicated that projects have money allocated from that fund already. So it's not extra money that is floating around, it's already allocated.
Please don't think we have an
Yes.
extra 300,000.
Don't think of the pool, no, that money doesn't go there. Okay, the Village of Glenwood is a letter of Mayor Ben, letting us know from the administration that Mayor Ben Goods will now be sitting on the FCSS committee representing Glenwood.
Madam Chairman, can I just speak to
Go
that
ahead.
for 1 moment? Sorry. The FCSS agreement will be on the intermunicipal committee agenda with the county. They have some reservations now, is my understanding, about the agreement, so we will be discussing that further. So
There's
we
a
won't
reversal.
finalize the bylaw until we have support of the agreement from all municipalities
Okay.
involved. Okay?
So that letter might be a possibility, yes, maybe no? Is that what we are to
Glenwood's
understand?
is on. Glenwood's
Okay.
is still fine,
All right.
but the county has some reservations about their
They're
signing
on
of the
site.
agreement.
Okay, all right. Thank you. There is a letter from Minister of Municipal Affairs, Doug Griffiths, letting us know that we receive a grant for $19,000 towards the internship for Alexis Bossy. So that was good news. And then there are two different meetings. One for the Alberta Health Services that will be held on March 19 at the County of Cardston building. You have to use the back of the building. It's from 10 to 2:30. It's a follow-up to the first meeting regarding the assessment of health needs for this region, especially Cardston. And
Madam
9,
Chair, we
Go
need
ahead.
RSVPs on that.
yes,
They've just asked
sorry,
that we
I
RSVP.
forgot to mention that. So how many of you are able to do that? Unfortunately, that day, I cannot be at that meeting.
It's a follow-up of that first meeting.
Yes,
I
it's
think if we have
it's
the
an
first meeting, we
in-depth-
should be at the second meeting.
Yes, but unfortunately, I can't make it.
Question on that, I was getting my knee operated on, so I wasn't there at the first meeting, but I'd like to go to the second
You know
meeting for
something,
sure.
then
For sure, I'd like to go to the second one.
you will replace me. It will be perfect.
Yeah.
So how many of you, can we have a show of hands? So
What's that date again?
the 19th of March is from 10 to 2:30 at the Carlson County building.
Hands need to stay up a little longer, I apologize. Okay. Thank you.
So all but myself, sorry. My husband has an eye appointment, doctors got to be there with him. He won't be able to drive himself.
Thank you for going with me.
Yeah. And 9E, Old Man Watershed Council. There is a meeting on Wednesday, the 13th of March, right here in Cardston at 7 p.m. at the Senior Center. And if you want to know what it is all about, I can give you a little bit of an idea. There is, at that meeting, will be an exploration of ways to help protect the health of the Old Man watershed, with goals to generate solutions and build support for necessary stewardship actions in the headwaters. That is what they're focusing on that night.
So that's the 15th at 7 p.m.
It is
13th.
the 13th at 7 p.m. at the Cardston Senior Center.
Now, that's the night of South Grow. You'll be at South Grow,
Yes.
and I will be at South Grow, because I usually go to South Grow. Well, with at least those meetings, I don't go to the regular ones, I just go to
Yes,
the AGMs.
yes, yes.
This is a planning session,
That's-
it's not their
yeah.
AGM, it's
No,
a planning
it's a
session.
planning
correct?
session.
Yeah.
And it's a reporting session on the water project too.
At, you're talking at the Old Man Watershed.
The South Group.
Oh, the South Grow,
Yeah.
it's not
It's
the
not,
AGM.
no,
It's not the AGM.
But interesting, because they've invited everybody.
Yes, that did, because they want to do a planning session moving forward as
okay.
a,
Then I don't need to go to that.
okay.
I don't need to go to that.
So just you, Councillor Kronen, we just needed to RSVP.
Councillor Edmonds, will you be going in South Grove, won't you be?
When's that one?
It's a
13th.
seminar.
That's the one that I sent the email out,
Right.
just saying it appears that it's a planning session for the organization, and my personal opinion is I think it's appropriate to have our councillor there representing the
That's at the
community.
South Grow meeting?
Yeah,
What time is that?
I don't think we need to have all of council there as long as we have.
You
our
have the
representative.
email, Marian, what time was it at? I can't remember. It was in the morning,
Yeah,
The South Row?
no, it's 5:30.
5:30. Okay, all right.
It's
And then
There
dinner
was
at
a,
6.
there was a
Right.
supper with
adjourned
it,
at
yes.
8:30.
Mhm. There was a supper with it.
Yeah. I don't know, I think when we serve on committees, that we have a responsibility to participate and represent council at those committees. So I don't know that it's appropriate to have all of council go to planning sessions for every committee that we serve on, right? I think it's okay to have our representatives there.
So I will be there. Okay, we need a motion to, do we need to wrap up any item of business? I think we done.
There's just a question
Councillor Creed.
that what was not on the agenda, but I believe I got an email from Jeff during the week about Jim Hillier making an announcement, and I was busy that day, so
Oh, okay.
could you just report on that
It's
announcement?
just,
Maybe
it's just
I
a grant
could-
for the pool.
Well, that's
maybe-
okay, I want to hear about it.
Okay, essentially on Saturday morning, Jim Hillier came and Councillor Dahl and Mayor Schow, myself were there, and Jeff was there, and Noel was there, Marian was there, and Randy Russell was there, and Dave was there. Essentially, we had an announcement regarding the award of the grant of $240,000 towards the upfitting, rehabilitation, that's what the proper word is, of the pool. And it was good news to us, considering that Noel worked extremely hard at it and should be commended for her hard work. That grant was a difficult grant to write. The first time was rejected, and she worked with the ministry and was able to bring it to fruition. So we have $240,000 to the better.
248,000.
Okay, sorry for the
Don't forget that
8,000 missing.
That was what we'd already seen, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that was the
number.
proposal that we put before council
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
So it wasn't
2 months ago.
anything new particularly.
So
it was
we should,
the announcement of what we...
if you have a chance to thank Noel for her hard work, please do so. I really think she deserves
Yeah.
a big thank you for her very hard work. And she, beside the point, was preparing all the papers for the audit and will have all that ready on time, I understand, which is great.
I believe I read somewhere that there's
there's going to be alterations to the STEP program or elimination of it. Is that correct?
Yes, I read that too.
That's going to impact us pretty hard, I'm assuming.
We
We've
don't-
only been getting about one a year anymore.
Yeah,
Oh,
they've
okay,
weaned us
okay.
off over the last few
Yeah, all right.
years.
If-
I don't feel so bad then.
Did they take it out for this year or for next year,
It's
2014?
gone.
Yeah, I
I think
think
it's
it
gone.
might be gone.
Because there was still some application in a paper regarding that. So did they all of a sudden cut it off?
No, if I might, that was an interesting one. They announced the grant was out. We were getting a number of emails that the grant had been announced, but when you went to the website to apply, they never put the application up. I actually phoned the person that they had the contact, and they said, yeah, we don't have any money yet, so we're not putting the application up. So
Okay,
they announced
so-
it, but it was never funded.
I would assume the budget on
Well-
Thursday
That'll
will
be interesting.
clarify whether we
Yeah.
have a STEP grant or not.
Okay, thank you so much. We need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Dahl?
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Just
Thank
for
you.
council's information as well, that means the pool will be closed this year. So we're starting that communication piece and working on, we've asked Dave and Randy to contact the adjacent municipalities and see if we can work out some kind of an arrangement for
Fees.
swim lessons and those kind of things for people that would be looking for that. We've also asked them to talk with the other municipalities about the potential of hiring some of our seasonal staff that we've used in the past, that, you know, we're trying to help them through that.
If they're short of lifeguards, that would be a help for
Yeah.
them.
We've
So
got, we've got
we're just kind
8 or 10
of
trained lifeguards.
Yeah, we're
You know
just trying to
something?
put the word out there to help them out a bit, right?
Good idea.
I'm just wondering,